Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the Honda Hornet Café Racer build. If you're new to the channel, I am basically building a Café Racer from a Honda Hornet 600 in my garage, which is not very big, with basic tools, nothing particularly fancy. So shows that it can be done, you can do it as well. And I'm learning as I go and just trying stuff out. And today is one of them times. I am going to do some work on the fuel tank. There is a small dent in the fuel tank. I'm going to try and get that out. Don't know whether it'll work. Also, I am going to move the Petcock. Please like, subscribe, share and comment, and any questions or anything you want to say, please feel free. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, although I don't post on there as much as I'd like, because with work and doing this I don't really have much time. So it's another cold rainy night and let's get on with the fuel tank. It's quite hard to see, but there is a dent here. If I put the light on the side of it, you can see it. It's not huge, it's maybe 5-10 millimeters deep. It hasn't really creased it. But I would like to have the opportunity to be able to possibly polish the tank to keep it bare metal. So I'm going to try and pop this out from the fuel cap, which I've seen done on YouTube by professionals, of course. Another option, if I can't do it, will be to fill it and possibly just put a line that maybe matches the forks, paint just a black section at the front or a coloured section at the front, and then have the rest polished. I don't know yet, but I'm going to try and get this out. So the guy I saw on YouTube, who's a professional nonetheless, basically had a bit of bent bar. I've looked on Amazon and eBay, and you can buy these. They're quite expensive. They have changeable tips and all sorts, but basically it looked like a bit of bar. So I've spent a bit of time getting some shape, and I've got to get it into, I'll put this down so you can see. So you've got to get it in the fuel tank and get it round to where the dent is, and try and work it out by pressing. It's got a nice round end on it, and what he did was he was tapping at the ends of the dent gently and also warming it up at the same time. He was trying to do it without damaging the paint, but obviously that's not an issue here. But getting in is a nightmare because it's obviously on the wrong side of the thing. So you work that, got that so it goes round. You can sort of see the direction it is, and I will try and lever and get it out and try and pop the dent out. So I'll warm it up a bit first and we'll see how we go. I might not even improve it. Right, so that's about 45 minutes of just warming, pushing. Patience, I think, is the key. It's not bad, it's not perfect, it's a lot better. What I'll try and do is, I think I'll get a glue gun and I'll glue some little tabs on and try and pull the last little bit. I can't seem to get much more, but I'll try and show you. It's hard, I don't know if you can see. It's hard to show in the light, but that is definitely gone down. Oh, come out. I think what I'll try is I'll glue something on there and try pulling it for the last little bit. It's just one little sort of spot there, and I think the rest will pop. So not bad. So not too bad, but not a disaster anyway. I think the key is patience here. I really wanted to get another hammer and give it a whack, but there you go. Right. So this is actually 3 days later. The battery ran out after 45 minutes. And I thought I'll put a glue gun, stick a little pin on it, try pulling it, but I haven't got a glue gun. I'd have had to borrow one or buy one. And I thought, well, it was working what I was doing. So I've been coming back to it, working with the bar, working it with the bar, and then tapping with the hammer, warming it up, and I've just continued like that. And it's like 3 days later, I've probably put in maybe about 4 hours of working on it like that. It's freezing cold, it's pouring with rain, but it's like one of them scabs you just can't leave. It just keeps getting a bit better, and you just can't keep picking at it. So I'm happy with it now. I'm saying I'm happy. I'll probably end up coming back and trying to get it a bit better. I don't know if you can see that dripping. And this is what it looks like. So it's, whether you can see properly, I get the light, the dent has pretty much gone. There is I've just rubbed it over with wet and dry, and you can see the very slightly low spots, and I don't know how good it was to start with, but it's definitely improved. And I probably will continue playing with this, trying to get it a bit better, or get it as good as I can. What I've been doing is, when you get a high spot, you get a little piece of hardwood, and literally I am just as light as that, going round, tapping the high spots, getting them down, warming it up, and it seems to like pop itself out a little bit when you warm it up. Like there's a line there and there. I'll knock them back. That'll probably relieve that little dent there, and just keep working at it. When I sand it, if I sand it, it'll probably take a lot of that out, and you have to sort of do it by feel. You can rub your finger over it and you can just feel it. And if I didn't have the light on that, right, so considering I don't do this for a living, and the guy on the YouTube video I saw has all sorts of specialist pullers and tools, it shows it's always worth having a go at these things. What's the worst? I had to fill it and paint it, but I used, it's a 10mm bar that I just bent to shape. I kept trying to match the shape of the tank and just bending it in the vise, wiggling it in, and that's going from across there. If you had a central good sized modern tank hole, you could probably get this even better. Working in that, you would probably be better if you put a nut on the end, welded it on, rounded it off, made like a little dome or a ball. That would work quite well. But I used that. I used a hammer, a light hammer, and a rubber hammer, and a piece of hardwood, just to tap any little dents, and I mean really lightly tap. But I couldn't ask for more, really. So that is one job, and that allows me that possibility of sanding the tank, which I don't know how good it is anyway, but as I say, I'll probably end up coming back and trying to get it a little bit better. But that's pretty good. I'm really happy with how that went. Next, I'll get the tank off and drill a hole in it. I've got to say, I really enjoyed doing the fiberglassing and filling of the seat. I have gone back and that gap. I've closed that gap up, I'll show you that in a minute. I just couldn't stop fiddling. I was really enjoying fiberglassing and filling, but as you can see, it's stuff's everywhere. I've cleaned up as best as I can. I'm gonna have to give the bike a blow off outside if it ever stops running. Right, so that there is where the original Petcock goes. There's a hole. Oh my God. That is where the original Petcock goes. So you can imagine that stands right in front of the carb. So it's no good. I've tried to think of all ways, putting angled carbs on, running a pipe off to put to a valve, which is probably the easiest. Put a little thing on and run a pipe away, and then put the Petcock remotely. On the Hornet, originally the Petcock was here. There's the pipes collect the bottom of the carbs. The Petcock was here. Now there is a nice flat spot there, and that would fit lovely in there in the original place. So what I've got is this bung, which is a welding bung to weld in there, 22mm bung, and then you can just mount the original Petcock on. It's not a welding job that I want to take on, and I've been to see a couple of places. I went down to see a guy, and he said he's done motorbike tanks before, especially old tanks, but also new tanks that have maybe got pinhole leaks in and things. And he said you start off, and he said, and they can just blow through, and you just chase them and chase them and chase them and chase them. And he said you end up cutting big sections out to repair them. And this tank is pretty good, but obviously it is 40-year-old, 50-year-old nearly. So I'm a bit concerned. But the guy next door in the garage, in the unit next door, he said, have you thought about using JB Weld, which is like an epoxy, 2-part epoxy. It's fuel safe, so, and people do use it for repairing fuel tanks. And he reckons if you drilled a nice neat hole so that fits in lovely, coated that in JB Weld, obviously prep all the bottom of the tank, sand it off, clean it with isopropyl alcohol, with your alcohol, put plenty of JB Weld on, stick that on, maybe put some weight on, keep it in the house, leave it to dry for a couple of days. It's supposed to dry within a few hours, be usable within about 2 days, but leave all that, and then possibly put a bead, almost like a weld, around the edge there, smooth all that up, dress it in nice. It's supposed to stand pressure. I've got some here. It is supposed to withstand 5,000. It is supposed to withstand 5,020 psi. It sets in 46 hours, cure time in 15 to 24 hours, dark grey, and he reckons that should be strong enough. Worst case scenario, I'd have to get this back out, clean off all the JB Weld, and go and find somebody who's prepared to weld it in. But I think it's worth giving it a go, because I've done things before where I've Loctited stuff and you just cannot get it apart. So if I prepare this properly, leave it for 2 or 3 days so it's definitely stuck, and then I'll put the Petcock on and I'll test it in a big tub of water and see if it leaks. I haven't even tested this tank. It did have a little bit of fuel in when it came. I haven't tested it, so I am assuming that it doesn't already have any leaks in, because that might just scupper that. So that's what I'm going to be doing, so we'll see what happens. Right, so I'm going to put this little bung in the Petcock. For all I bought the tank as stripped, the underside of the tank hasn't actually been paint stripped, and it's all been hand painted. Anyway, so to make sure I get the best possible finish to start with, I'm going to strip the paint off first. Show you. Right, so you can see that for all the strip the tank, they haven't stripped the underside, and it's been hand painted as well, so it's horrible. The bung is going to go there, so I've got a lovely big flat spot to put that in. That's the original one, which I'll just make a little blanking plate to go over there. So I'm going to strip all the paint from the underside of the tank so I get the best possible start for bonding it on. I'm going to use nitromorse because that's what I've got. I'm sure that'll take it off. It looks like it's flaking off anyway. For some reason on this section the sound didn't record. The video did, but no sound. It's supposed to be idiot proof, but obviously it's not. So what I did was put the paint stripper on, you leave it 10 minutes, come back, put some more paint stripper on, leave it 30 minutes, then you can come back and start taking off the paint. It didn't bubble up the paint as much as I would have thought, but then I don't know what sort of paint was on it. It looked quite tarry. But I scraped and wire brushed and sanded and got all the paint off, and this left some rust showing, which was under the paint, so whoever had done it last time hadn't prepped it properly. So I treated the rust with a rust restorer converter, which you put on, left 10 minutes, then wiped off, and then wiped a thin coat of the Genolite stuff on and left it, and that seems a lot better. The good thing is that where the bung is going looks the best part of the tank. It's really nice and clean steel, looks nice and solid still, and looking at this, and I can understand why the welder was maybe a bit reluctant to do it, because obviously where there is rust the metal is going to be thinner, and I think that's, you don't know what it's like on the inside, so this is where he was saying that it could blow through. What I'm going to do is mount the petcock under there exactly where it was before. So to give it the maximum room, it needs to be about there, and that should go up to somewhere like that, and that should fit quite nicely and not catch anything. So that is where it's going to be. So I'll get that drilled next. So now I'll take the tank off, I'll mark in as far as I need to be. They're about 50 millimeters back from this edge. The pipes come out and go at the carburetor 50 millimeters back from the edge of the tank. That goes inside the tank, and that is about 20 millimeters different, so I want to be 30 millimeters in. Now the mark on my tank is a lot further forward than I thought. I thought I was in this area, so that's where that mark is, and 30 millimeters in from there is there. So that is where the centre of the bung needs to be, which would move that back 50. Now the bung, so that would go there, which just puts it on the flat part. I might sneak that over a little bit to make sure it's on the flat, fully on the flat part. A shame, I thought it was going there, but it's going to be on there somewhere. So I might move that over about 5 millimeters, make the centre about there. I can always put a longer pipe on, so that I know that I'm definitely on the flat part. So that's where that's going to go. So that's drilled out. I'll mix up my JB weld and then epoxy that in. It's sitting lovely and flat, so that should go in pretty good. I've cleaned everything down with my alcohol, the bung and the surrounding area, so it's perfectly clean. And now you just mix it equal parts on a piece of cardboard, and we'll stick it in. And it looks about the same to me. Just mix it together. It is quite thick. It's quite it's thicker than I expected. Not like body filler. There's a lot less give in it, and it smells a bit funny. It smells a bit like old inner tubes. I'm not going to need much. I'll get it stuck in, and then I will probably put some more on after a day or so to form like a weld bead, like I said, and then grind it back. Right. I was originally going to put a weight on this, but I couldn't seem to get anything to balance properly, so I'd probably end up making a worse job of it than if I just push it in. Now that has really stuck. You can feel it, nice firm sort of gluey pressure. I was going to do a weld bit, like an extra bead round afterwards, but I think by the time I've spread all this around, keeping it away from the thread, I think this will probably do it. Okay, so that feels like it's stuck straight away, stuck really well. I'm going to leave that to dry. It says sets in 4 to 6 hours, but I won't even be touching it till tomorrow. So that's as far as I'm going to go with this video. I will update you on how this is working. I think the big test is going to be when you screw the petcock on. I've got a bit of twisting force. If it doesn't spin out, it's pretty much stuck. I may put a little bit more on over the top and then dress it back, but I'll show you that in the next video if I do that. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and I will see you next Wednesday when I will update you on the tank, and I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing yet, some bits and pieces. See you next week.